get ready for our first game, shall we? All you need to start are some models, a surface to play on, some six-sided dice, a tape measure or rangefinder, and an opponent. Before you set up, you and your opponent should agree on a battle plan. A battle plan tells you how to set your armies up and what your objectives will be. You'll find battle plans in many Warhammer Age of Sigmar books. To start off, let's keep things simple. We're going to use a very straightforward battle plan called First Blood from the core rules of the game. We're going to set our armies up really close, and the objective will just be to destroy the enemy army. Once you've decided on your battle plan, you and your opponent should set up a battlefield. A battlefield can take any shape or size, but should be at least 2 feet square. A tabletop is pretty ideal. If you like, you can add some terrain pieces. Terrain represents the landscape of the mortal realms. We've got trees, a realm gate, or any sort of ruins or other elements that you might have in your collection. You can use as much or as little terrain as you like. Once your battlefield is ready, you can start to set up the armies. The battle plan will tell you how and in what order. In the battle plan we're using, First Blood, you and your opponent each roll a die, and then the player who rolls highest selects a territory, in this case, a table half. They then place a unit from their army on the battlefield in that territory. When you set up a unit, you place every model in that unit on the battlefield in a group, making sure every model is within 1 inch of another model from the same unit. You and your opponent then take turns to set up units until both armies are deployed. Okay, armies deployed. Before we start, let's quickly talk about how a turn works in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. A game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar is broken down into battle rounds. In each battle round, players take it in turns and move and fight with their armies. Each of these players' turns is broken down into 6 phases. You've got the hero phase. This is where your champions of your army cast spells and issue commands. Then the movement phase, where your forces take their position. Shooting phase comes next, where your units attack their foes with ranged weapons or missile weapons. Then the charge phase, where your warriors close the distance to the enemy. The combat phase, where troops battle in brutal melee. And finally, the battle shock phase, where both sides test to see if their forces stand their ground or flee in terror. At the start of each battle round, both players roll a die. The player who scores highest can choose to go first or second. In the event of a tie, the player who went first in the last battle round can choose to go either first or second. In the first battle round of the game, however, the player who finished setting up their army first can choose to take the first or second turn. Okay, we're almost ready for the first turn, but since this is your first game, it's probably worth taking a look at what your units can actually do before we start rolling dice. In the next video, I'll tell you all about War Scrolls.